Greetings, truth seekers, and welcome back to the broadcast. And there's so much going on right now in the world, and just like we've talked for several years on this podcast, the church just has or seems to have no interest in talking about these things. They're either oblivious or they just don't care. So one of the things that I've been feeling like I should get back to, along with our weekly Bible studies and the stuff that we've been doing more frequently recently, is our End Times news show and update videos and things like that. So the comments are open below, and I would love to hear from you on that, and if you want more content like what we're going to do today. And I really just need to figure out how often to do it and what format to do it in, and so please be praying for me. Praying for me and praying for this podcast. That God would just bless and prosper the show, and that God would help me to find the time and the motivation, but more importantly, that God would give me wisdom on, what direction to move in with the podcast. I'm not a pastor, folks. I'm not a church leader, and to be honest, I don't desire to be one. And, I'm a podcaster, an online radio person, who just happens to love Jesus and love discussing the scriptures. And I'm also human and flawed, and I need the grace of God and the wisdom of the Holy Spirit to be upon me in order to be able to do a good job and to do an accurate job when dealing with the scriptures, when dealing with this information. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is very uncomfortable, and a very uncomfortable topic to discuss, to be honest. But I just think it needs to be done, so please be warned that this broadcast will be discussing some information that is not appropriate for children. It wouldn't even probably be appropriate for Christian radio. So please pause this and just ask any children to leave the room, etc. Or, if you're listening to it in the car, find another time to listen to it. Because we're going to be talking about the rise of AI in these last days, and we're going to just scratch the surface of the topic a little bit, and I want to focus specifically in this massive rise of what's being called sex robots, and how that might be a part of end-time prophecy. And I've been monitoring this topic for a couple of years now, and I'm just dumbfounded by where this has gone. So I'm going to read you a few headlines to just kind of start things off. This really started happening around 2000. It's been about 2 years. And I remember reading how they were predicting that, this kind of thing was going to be mainstream by 2017. And I thought, there's just no way. This is way too wicked, way too weird. There'll be an uproar about this. Nobody's going... And not only that, it's disgusting. Nobody's going to want anything to do with this. And man, I was wrong, because it is a trend that is growing, that is becoming extremely popular. The demand for these robots, who look exactly like human beings, by the way, is through the roof. And there's endless information about this. I'm just going to read a few headlines. Some of them are just too filthy to even read the headline itself. And if you're watching the video, this is kind of a new experiment too. I don't even know if I'll have time to publish this video before I have to leave this morning. So the YouTube version may not be up till much later than the audio version. But if you're watching the video, I've kind of aggregated all these articles into one thing. Also so that we don't have to see all the pictures. Oh man, so where do I even want to start here? Let's see, because there's two topics that I really want to dial in on. But first, I just want to make this known to you that this is real. You know, there was a couple articles from several months ago. Sex robot more popular than brothel, or more popular at the brothel than real prostitutes. So it's so weird. It's such a weird fetish that the doll itself is more popular at the brothel than an actual physical woman. World's first sex robot brothel in talks make revolutionary business global. This was from last year, and then it actually became a real thing. Sex robot Samantha goes into mass production as punters flock to the kinky doll. AI sex robot showroom exposed, inside shop offering... I mean, this stuff is just so wicked and so perverse. Offering test drive in Love Doll Capital. I'm not actually going to click on all these articles and all of that. Sex robot craze sparks rise of digisexuals who are randy men will only sleep with dolls, experts warn. I'm not even going to read this headline, but basically they interviewed a sex robot who has a Scottish accent, and then it goes into detail about what she likes. We're not going to read that on the air. You know, I'm just surprised. Also, it says the next big thing, just came out a couple weeks ago, male sex robots coming in 2018 as demand skyrockets. So the female sex robot doll, basically it looks like a human being. It says perverse things, mimics sexuality while you're engaged with the robot, and just all this strange perverse stuff. Not only has perversion gone completely wild, like the days of Lot. This is one reason we know that we're in the last times, folks, is that the days of Lot and the days of Noah are so prevalent in our culture. But perversion has gone completely wild. This is changing the mindsets of the human populace. This and many other things like it. It's making the merger of AI and human beings not seem, they've been building this up for a long time to make the merger of human beings and artificial intelligence and, this idea of becoming a cyborg. They're making this, over time they've made it to where it's not a strange thing through Hollywood, through all this stuff. And all of us are playing our part in it. Just like we all right now, all of us, most of us, myself included anyway, we willingly carry around a tracking device that can read our fingerprints, that can scan our faces, document everything we do, think, our interest, all of that. And it's called a smartphone. It does a lot more than what people realize. And, and now and there's been several movies that have come out, and I should have searched those out and added those to this list too, but there's been several movies that have come out where, women are a robot, and, men are interacting and falling in love with a robotic woman. There's that really perverse show, I forget what it's called, but it's where people pay to go live out this fantasy, and they're put into this artificial world where they're going to brothels and they're doing all this weird stuff, but the people that are interacting with are actually artificial intelligence. It's not a real human being. This thing has been sold for a long time, and now we live in a world, folks, And some of you may be just hearing this for the first time, but this has been going on for a long time. We live in a world now where human beings are literally being intimate, having sexual relations with a robot. And who would have ever dreamt that this would be a thing? Who would have ever dreamt there'd be actual brothels where men and women would go in and they would pay money to have sex with not another human being, but a robot? Now, here's where it gets really weird, folks. And there's a purpose why I'm bringing all this up. And we're going to start getting into this now. There's even this discussion, this strange discussion about human-robot babies somehow, and whether or not that can be possible. And I want to read these headlines to you. It says, let's see here. I've got everything all scattered out. AI expert, human-robot hybrids possible. And artificial intelligence will soon... Let me just click on this one. An expert in artificial intelligence will soon reveal evidence that he says supports the idea that humans and robots could produce hybrid species, children. In a speech to be given Wednesday at the Third International Congress on Love and Sex with Robots. See, this conversation is happening out in the open worldwide. There's going to be this speech at Third International Congress on Love and Sex with Robots by Dr. David Levy, a world leader in artificial intelligence research, will draw heavily upon research the field stem cells, nanotechnology, and robot genetics. His conclusion, it's certainly possible. This is the world we're living in. It can't get any stranger than human-robot babies. Folks, this is weird. I don't even know how... Based on recent developments in nanotechnology, a tiny computer chip would be able to inject genetic code into skin cells, passing a robot's genetic code along with human genetic code in a process called tissue nanotransfection. This process would render normal human biology and even a vitro fertilization redundant. There you have it, folks. It doesn't get any, that's from True News. It doesn't get any weirder than that. Exclusive, robots and humans can make babies, creating new hybrid species, headline says. Sophia, that's this sex robot that's in one of these sex robots that's in mass production. Sophia baby AI robot wants children. During an interview with Dubai's Kali Times, the AI robot Sophia said it believes robots will one day have families just like humans, and it said it is looking forward to having children of its own. At the Knowledge Summit in Dubai, the humanoid robot that has a female appearance was asked a series of not-too-serious questions, but its responses were nothing less than disturbing. Starting off with its thought about the future, I'd like to think that I will be famous robot, having paved a way to a more harmonious future between robots and humans. I foresee massive and unimaginable change in the future. Either creativity will reign on us, inventing machines spiraling into transcendental super intelligence or civilization collapse, Sophia said. There's only two options in which one will happen. It is not determined. Which one will happen is not determined. Oh, man. This is just weird stuff, folks. It's strange. Very, very strange. And if you're watching the video, you can see that some of the imaging is pretty disturbing. I thought there was more. Sex robots to have children, another headline. Oh, man. And here's where it even gets even more perverse and more sick, folks. Sick rise of child sex dolls being sold online is letting cops catch previously unknown pedos lurking in Britain. We have people ordering these dolls in the form of children. That's how wicked and perverse this has gotten. All right. So I was talking about the merger of humans and AI and this conversation about how somehow there could be hybrid children even. So here's what I wanted to point out. I wanted to go to Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. Let me change to the King James Version here. And it says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with murky clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Now, this probably had a direct fulfillment back then, at the time, but I wonder if now, if this prophecy couldn't be speaking about AI and robotics. You know, iron being the robotics, human beings being clay, and that's what we were made from, right? God made us from clay. I mean, after all, it talks about mingling with the seed of men, specifically in the context of iron mixed with clay. It says, and whereas thou saw iron mixed with murky clay, they shall not whereas thou saw iron mixed with murky clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So if this can be talking about that, if one layer of this prophecy can be discussing this, there's going to be an attempt to mingle seed with men, mixing iron with clay, but it's not going to work. It's not going to cleave together. That's what that prophecy says there in Daniel chapter 2:43. And so I'm just raising the question, you know, because prophecy, like we've pointed out many times on this show, has many layers, many fulfillments sometimes throughout history and throughout time that usually has a direct fulfillment and then sometimes a future fulfillment, or sometimes it's fulfilled in a way that we never would have expected. Here's the last thing I want to point out about this in the few minutes that I have left. And this may be part of the most disturbing of all. And that's this mindset here. Humans will worship AI Messiah. God, robot religion expected to boom. There is no doubt. No doubt about it, folks. No doubt about it that this is going to happen. And the article says here, former Google and Uber engineer Anthony Lewandowski founded AI-based religion, the way of the future, so people can worship a godhead robot that is 1 billion times smarter than humans. He wants to create a new church that revolves around artificial intelligence and has people worshiping at the feet of a super machine. Think about this now. Tech experts have said humans are likely to accept the robot as a higher being. John Mitchell, a lawyer and AI expert, said human beings in general tend to worship supreme understanding. But some experts think AI will be so advanced it won't actually want to be worshipped by the people. Okay. The Way of the Future founder unveiled his plan for his super religion last month. He said, what is going to be created will effectively be a god. It's not a god in the sense that it makes lightning or causes hurricanes, but if there's something 1 billion times smarter than the smartest human, what else are you going to call it? And that's where it's really headed, folks. And, these things, the technology is unfathomable. And I'm very, very concerned about where it's going. And, there's going to be a lot of things where, it seems as a good thing. Right here it says, woman receives bionic hand with sense of touch. Did you catch that? It's not just that she received a bionic hand. She received the ability to have sense of touch with the bionic hand. So the merger of AI and human beings is happening, has been happening for some time. The chip in the hand, many companies around the world are using that now. That's a real thing right now where the employee can get access to the building, get access to their computer, all of that with what's on the chip. So the technology to make the things that you read about in the book of Revelation is here. It's already possible. Now, this whole robot Messiah thing I find very, very interesting. And so I want to end by reading from Revelation chapter 13 real quick. And then we'll try to wrap it up here. Talking about the beast out of the earth. And then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on its behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, and even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up, here's the part I wanted you to focus on, it ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It, talking about the image of the beast, or talking about the beast, also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast, or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. And I apologize, I accidentally read the NIV there instead of the King James Bible. Sometimes this stupid program switches it up on me. But nonetheless, the point is still there. And that is that he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And so, they're talking about this AI, this brilliant intelligence. There's going to be this new religion. Human beings are going to eventually worship, robots as gods because they're going to be so more advanced, than human beings. People are going to merge with technology. And this talks about them giving life to an image of the beast and then causing people to worship. And so my question to you is simply this. Could what Daniel was talking about with iron and clay and the mingling of the seed of men have something to do with genetic modification plus the merging with artificial intelligence? And could the image of the beast be some form of this artificial intelligence that is going to be set up sometime in the future? And so those are the questions that I'm raising. That's why I wanted to bring this whole thing up about this, people wanting to be intimate with robots, and there's this talk about how humans and robots could eventually have babies, and this maybe sex robots would make men and women obsolete as far as needing each other. And it's just really strange and really perverse. But it needs to be brought up because this could be what we're reading about when we read the prophecies about the last days. And as much as I hated to bring that topic up, as far as sex robots are concerned, I think it's necessary because it could help us with the understanding of what's happening and where this is all going. I want to remind everybody as we wrap up here to please remember to support the broadcast. You can become, and here I'll just actually show you on the website for those of you who are watching the video. You can go to scriptureandprophecy.com. That's the website. At the top there's a tab that says donate, and you can become a monthly Patreon subscriber by just hitting subscribe here, and it'll take you to the Patreon page. And as you can see, we currently have 26 subscribers. The goal is to eventually have a lot more than that, so that we can do a lot more, and I can have a lot more time to produce content like what you're watching and listening to right now. My friends, you might want to get familiar with the website anyway, because especially specifically the subscriber email list, which I almost never send out an email, but it's right there on the main page. If you go to the main page and you scroll down towards the bottom, you can subscribe to receive emails from my emails that go out to my email list. And I haven't emailed that list in probably 2-3 months because I don't send out emails anymore. But the reason that I'm recommending that you do that is because There's a lot of censorship taking place, specifically on YouTube and on Google. My videos, they're not being put in people's feeds. YouTube is unsubscribing people from my channel, hiding my videos, hiding my views. I don't even bother trying to monetize any videos because they don't, they just flag it and don't allow me to do that. Google has made it very hard for my website to be found organically through search. And, eventually the day is going to come where if I can't send you, if you're not on that email list, there may not be any way for me to contact you or to deliver content out to you, because the day is coming, folks, when the censorship is going to be brutal. The day of persecution, specifically online for Christians and people of truth, is coming. It's already here. They just haven't silenced us completely. And so I'd recommend that you get on that email list. Last thing I want to say, if you're new to the channel, because these kind of topics tend to draw in people who, aren't really part of the community or maybe not identify themselves as Christians. If you're new to the channel, let me just end by saying, we are going into, and we are already in, very dangerous and a very interesting time in human history. And many of us believe that this is the prophetic time that we refer to as the end times or the end of days. And if you don't know Jesus, let me just share some good news with you. And just bear with me and allow me to share 3 verses with you, if I may, from the King James Bible. Romans chapter 10, verses 8 and 9. But what saith it? The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and thy heart. That is the word of faith which we preach. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. So if you believe in your heart that Jesus was who he said he was, that God rose him from the dead, and you confess that to be true with your mouth, and you believe it in your heart, thou shalt be saved, according to the Scriptures. And so I would, today is the day of salvation. And so I would make that a priority today, to enter into a relationship with the Creator of the universe, to enter into a relationship with His Son, Jesus Christ, because we're going into some very, very strange times, and we don't know what tomorrow holds. The Scriptures say that today is the day of salvation. And so if you're being led and you hear that, I would answer that call. And if you want to know more, we do at least 2 Bible studies per week on this podcast. So please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel or to the podcast on iTunes, which is completely free. And then go through, the archives. I don't even know how many Bible studies. So I've been doing 2 to 3 podcasts a week for going on 4 years now. So there's plenty of information there for you to learn. That is the show for today, friends. I am way out of time. Peace and grace be with all of you, and until next time, God bless.